Hi, I'm Mimi, and welcome to Human Strategies, Human Stories. What I'd like to share with you today is a hack that I found for Anhedonia. So, how did I find this? First of all, I'm from New York, and I moved to Tel Aviv a couple of years ago. Actually, I was born in San Francisco, but grew up in New York City and moved to Tel Aviv a couple of years ago. And one night, one of the really neat things that they have in Tel Aviv is what's called bar talks. And that's talks, it could be from people who have initiated startups or professors or just anybody who has an interesting topic that they want to share. And they host evenings in bars, and basically lots of people come and they listen to the talk and ask questions and drink beer and eat pizza, and it's all pretty great. So one night I went to a talk on happiness, and there were a couple of people talking, and forgive me, I forget the guy's name, but the first person was an older guy, a professor, a really nice guy, and he was sharing some research about happiness. So what it was is like this. They were comparing different things with antidepressants for treatment of people with, I would say, what you would call mild to moderate, not severe depression. And they told them, so some of the people took medication, and by the way, this is anecdotal, what I'm telling you, just to describe the research. This is not for anybody to apply to their own medical stuff. Whatever you're doing, it's between you and your doctor. But the research was that some of the people were taking medication for depression, and some of the people, they told them like this. They said, before you go to sleep at night, just take a couple of moments and think of things during the day that you appreciated, or that you're grateful for, or that you enjoyed, or that were nice. Maybe you had a day full of them, or maybe it was a difficult day, but you can still identify something. So just take a moment as you're lying in bed before you go to sleep and relive that experience and really take it in and run it through your senses as if it was happening right in that moment. Close your eyes. Feel the feeling of what it felt like to smell that flower, or when that person unexpectedly said something nice to you, when you were feeling bad, or when something happened that bothered you. Think about that thing that was negative that magically didn't happen, even though everything else went wrong, but that one thing didn't happen. And just whatever. He said three things to appreciate, and what I would call re-experience. Three things. It could be any number, but it's going through your day and picking those things, large or small, and really kind of just taking them in, imagining them, reimagining them, and imagining them through all of your senses. And it can just take a moment, but it just kind of lets this really nice feeling wash over you with each one. And then go to sleep. And just feel that sense of appreciation and gratitude. And what happened in the research is that after a few weeks of doing this, I think it was like 3 months, the people who did it had a lower score on the depression inventory than, was it equal to or the same or better than? Let's say for the sake of my non-existent memory, that it was equal to, it definitely wasn't less than, to the people who were taking antidepressants. Now listen to this is what really blew me away. After 3 months, they stopped. They stopped their little exercise. Okay. 1 year later, they hadn't been doing it already for 9 months. 1 year later, they retested the people who had done this little appreciation exercise, and guess what? Their scores had still gone down. Their depression scores were still lower, significantly lower than they had been before they did that exercise a year before. Well, 9 months before. Listen, I got to tell you something that really struck me. And I wasn't thinking about, by the way, I wasn't thinking about Anhedonia at the time. So I thought, wow, a way to feel happier, not connected with meds. And again, nothing wrong with meds, particularly for people who have, high levels of depression or anxiety. I'm not making a statement about that at all. I was just saying that was my thought. And I said, hey, let me try that. So I lay in bed and I thought about a couple of nice things for my day, 3 things. And I just kind of re-experienced each one. It was really kind of nice. It was like a double experience. First, the thing happened during the day, maybe when I was really too busy to fully appreciate it or to take note of it. But here I am, lying all quiet and nice in bed, ready to go to sleep, and it's a peaceful moment, and I can really open my mind and open my heart and open my senses and re-experience what that was. Or like I say, if it was something bad that didn't happen, re-experience how great it was what that wasn't. Okay? And I got to tell you something, guys. It was kind of nice. It was a nice feeling, and it only took, I don't know, 2-3 minutes. I went to sleep. Felt good. I was like, that was nice. That didn't feel like an exercise at all. I do exercises. I lift some weights, do some push-ups, run a little bit. This was nice, okay? So I kept on doing it. Basically, I didn't force myself that I had to do it every night, but most nights when I remembered, I would just kind of go back through my day and pick whatever I had that I felt was something that I was happy for, grateful for, appreciated, something that I had enjoyed on whatever level. And I know you say, wait a second, this is supposed to be about anhedonia. What do you mean enjoy? So I'm going to say, I'll say a little bit more in a minute. And at some point I noticed something. Ooh! Let's see if I killed that bug. Speaking of things to be thankful for, I will be thankful if that bug is dead, because those little itty-bitty suckers bite. They're smaller than mosquitoes, and they'll bite all night long. Anyway, that's an example of the kind of silly things that people are actually thankful for, me included. If I wake up tomorrow morning and I wasn't bitten by that little sucker, I'll say, wow, that's actually something that I appreciate. And I mean that really. I really do, because I really don't appreciate getting bitten. So what I noticed was that when I think of myself as being kind of anhedonic, and I'll explain what I mean, at least for me, is that I definitely, when something is directly impinging on my senses in a very, very direct way. Let's say I'm hungry and I eat a good meal, or something I love is a really wonderful, at the end of a meal, a really wonderful piece of fresh fruit. and I love fresh tangerines. So biting into a cool, sweet, juicy, fresh tangerine. Think about in the movie, I think it was in 127 Hours, where Aaron Ralston, or James Franco playing Aaron Ralston, is just, he's caught in the canyon, with his arm stuck in the boulder, and he thinks he's going to die, and he's, basically wasting away from thirst. And he's just having these visions of, I think it was like a fresh orange, just a fresh orange juice or something. So it's kind of like that sometimes. Obviously not as extreme, but the level of appreciation. So that kind of pleasure, when it's that immediate and that direct to the senses, oh yeah, I definitely feel it. Or great sex with someone who I'm in love with, okay? Not some unsatisfying casual hookup, which for a lot of females that's very unsatisfying, even physically. No, but really great sex with somebody who I love. Where all that, the love and the pleasure and the connection is just there. Oh yeah, that's definitely, I notice that. But when it comes to things that are less kind of full frontal on the senses, like kind of things like seeing a beautiful view, or if I would take if I would be, let's say, stand-up paddleboarding, which is something I do a lot in the summer here on the coast in Tel Aviv. Surfboarding, which I do a little bit when I have the balls, which isn't always. It's when the waves are not too high. So in the moment, I say, this is good, or this is nice, or this is pretty, or this is enjoyable. But it's not that I'm actually enjoying it. I don't actually feel it in my bones, in my heart. It doesn't wave over me like the wave that would come over me if I bite into something, cool and juicy and delicious when I'm so thirsty. That I feel, it's like it vibrates in me. Or, when you have sex and you have an orgasm and you love the person and you're feeling that love, wow, okay? But I can be not like that. If I'm in a beautiful place doing something nice or doing an activity that I should be enjoying, I'll register it mentally, but I can't say that I'm going to feel it as a wave through my heart or my body. I just don't. And there's lots of reasons for that. I'm sure some of it is genetic, some of it is because of stressful things that I went through, particularly early in life and, all through life. People with a certain level of introspection or depth or sensitivity usually get there because they've, paid a price for it, and it can be a kind of high price. But one of the downsides of that, other than the actual experience at the time, is some of the after effects. And one of the after effects of having stress, trauma, that kind of thing, when you're young and throughout the childhood, youth, even through young adulthood, is that it puts you in a kind of constant state of inner guardedness. So you're not able to, it's like part of you is always in the observer mode. And that's good in terms of getting through what you need to get through. But it doesn't actually allow you to fully open to experiences the way that somebody who hasn't gone through anything is able to. And look, maybe some people who have gone through all sorts of difficult things, or some of those people still are able to open themselves up and really feel things. God bless them, okay? Everybody has their own side effects from whatever they go through. And like I say, some of it may be genetic as well. But that's kind of the way I am. So what I noticed when I did this exercise at night was that in the quiet of my bed, with nothing going on around me, just opening up my mind and re-experiencing those things that I appreciated or was grateful for, that in that re-experience, I was actually able to feel more pleasure than I had at the time of the experience. And I thought that was so amazing. And let's not say how much, okay? We're not measuring. We're just measuring it compared to the usual me, okay? And I thought, how amazing. And it wasn't amazing like, why the hell is it this way? I understood why it was that way, and it's obvious, but I'll say in a moment, kind of the mechanics of it. But just that feeling of the increase in the ability to experience something more than I had actually experienced it at the time it happened. And that was like such a cool feeling. And again, I wasn't trying to say, oh, I'm going to now be like this. It was just a change from this to this. And that was awesome and unexpected. So now, why? Well, I mean, look, when you're experiencing something and you are taking note that it's an enjoyable thing, or that it's a good thing, or that it's a beautiful thing, or that it's a pleasurable thing, or should be a pleasurable thing, you've kind of taken that snapshot, but you kind of took it from up here. Now, all the ability to feel that thing is there within you, okay? So it's kind of like seeing a piece of cake, and you look at it, you register that it's there, and you take that piece and you smell it, you maybe take a little taste of it, but then you take the rest and you wrap it up and you put it away in your little satchel, and you take it home with you to really savor it in a quiet moment, when you can really just, there's nothing else going on around you, and you can just take a bite of that chocolate frosted lemon cake, or that black forest cake with strawberry filling, whatever it is, and really take it in. Okay, so it's like that. I felt that during the day, which is what I would call being in the world. My normal anhedonia is, or that kind of guardedness of the senses is in its normal mode, okay, because that's normal for me, fortunately, unfortunately, whatever. By the way, one thing about being a little bit anhedonic is it allows you to focus on things because you're less easily distracted. You're not constantly wanting to go out and pursue sensory pleasures and things like that, because they don't impact you the same way as they might impact some people. So there's a good and bad to everything. So that's kind of the analogy of kind of taking that piece of cake and tucking it away. So later, when you're in a quiet place by yourself and those defenses are a little bit lower, and you can you don't need to even consciously do it. It's just as you reimagine the thing at a time when your defenses are naturally lower. Emotional defenses, so it's not just sensory, by the way. Anhedonia can also be not just the inability to feel it in a sensory way or physical way, but it's also the ability to feel it in an emotional way, of like, oh wow, great, that kind of thing, or oh my goodness. So in that moment when you're by yourself and you're emotional, physical, sensory, imaginative, meaning the ability to imagine, all those defenses are slightly lower, and you take that experience back up through your mind, the same way as taking that piece of chocolate cake out of your satchel and opening it up all by yourself and taking it in and just tasting every bite. So if you experienced it at this level when you were in the experience, which isn't very high, then when you're all by yourself and you relive it, and also have that sense of appreciation and gratitude, which is natural. You don't have to fake it. You do feel grateful for that thing, whatever it is. That kind word, or that pretty thing you saw, or that nice thing you did, or the way that you helped someone that made you feel so good, or whatever it was. When that comes over you, when you reimagine it, you're reimagining it with your senses and emotions here. Because instead of the way it felt when it actually happened. Because you're doing it at a time when your defenses are lower. So that's what I noticed. So now, what that means is that in and of itself is a hack for anhedonia. Because it means, along with obviously the concept of you want to call it a time lapse, because you're experiencing something, re-experiencing it several hours later than it actually happened. Could be morning till night later than it actually happened. And by the way, you don't need to write down what you're going to remember, because believe me, you'll lie in bed, it'll come to you, no worries. It's actually nice to kind of go through and search for those things, and you're like, aha, I didn't even think of that. That is something to be thankful for, or to be grateful, or to appreciate, or it was nice. So now, just by the way, there are some days that you go to sleep so stressed out, or so down, or so mad. Sometimes you can find something like, oh, it could have even been worse. Thank goodness for that. Or, something happened that was okay. Somebody said something nice after the bad thing happened. So sometimes you can do that. There are other days where you just can't. It's not that you forgot to do it. It's just that you're just feeling too awful. You just don't want to do anything. Okay? So, trying to light a positive spark at the end of a day like that sometimes is like throwing a spark on wet timber, wet firewood. It is just not going to go. On a day like that, at the end of a day like that, sometimes what you can do, be grateful for, is to curl up and say, this day's over, okay? Or I'm about to just crash, go to sleep, okay? And tomorrow will hopefully be better, because often it is. And just be grateful that it's done, and then that you're in your nice, soft, warm bed, okay? Having comforted yourself in whatever way you could. You had a cup of hot cocoa, or you had a good meal, or you spoke to a friend, or you listened to some nice music, or you watched a nice movie on TV or on the computer. Whatever it is, now you're curled up in bed and going to sleep, and that's the best thing you have to be grateful for. So sometimes that's all you can do, and that's fine. And this is, you just be kind to you, whatever it takes on really difficult days like that. But when you are able, by the way, you saw me going like this, that's because that bug did bite me. So, but it's all okay. I'm going to get it later. So what I found was that in itself is a hack for anhedonia, because you really are able to experience more fully that which you were not able to experience as much at the time it happened. So now, here's another level of hack. What you can also try. This is just, it's another step. It's optional, and you don't have to, because a lot of times it's nice just to do what I described and let that be its own hack. But what you can do also is, on a day where things are going okay, it's not super stressful, and you're just kind of, doing that nice thing, but maybe not feeling it that deeply. What you can do is, when that thing happens, when you see that beautiful view, for example, you can take a mental note. Not just, oh, this is nice, but yeah, this is one of those things that I am going to be wanting to re-experience and be grateful for tonight before I go to sleep. This is going to be one of those things that I am going to recreate. And this is what it's going to feel like, kind of when I recreate it. So at the moment that you are, for example, looking at that beautiful view, you're registering that you will be recreating it. And you can even in that moment imagine what that recreation, what that re-experience is going to feel like. And you're kind of superimposing the future imagining of it onto the present experience. So you're letting your future full imagining superimpose itself into the present. What you're doing, it's kind of funny to say it this way, is you're imagining what the imagining is going to be like at the moment that you're having the original experience, if that makes sense. And if you kind of do that in the moment, you look at the view, for example. So let's just run through it. You look at the view and say, wow, this is pretty. Oh, this is one of those things that I'm going to want to re-experience. Ooh. And this is what it's going to feel like. And it's that quick. So it's kind of through your imagination, you're bringing in that fuller sense, even just a little bit. And I think that the more often you do that, the more often you're able to bring that full experience, that fuller, I don't want to say full, that slightly fuller experience into the present moment. I have a little bit of a bug in my throat. It's kind of a holdover from a long bout with colds and flu for like a month, which I'm thankful, because so many people got so much sicker with the same kind of flu. So I'm very thankful for that. So there you go. It's a kind of hack in the moment, using the future experience and superimposing it onto the moment, just through your imagination, through your senses. And I have a feeling that this isn't, with any research. It's just, my own thoughts and experience. And I haven't tried that level of it that much, so I'm going to continue with what I said first and with the further step and see how that goes. But what happens, the analogy I would give with Anhedonia is it's like with a limb. When someone's limb is hit hard and the nerves are, they call it an insult, okay, but basically the nerves are damaged, the ability to transmit the signals is disturbed and can be interrupted. It can be lessened, and so as the limb gets better, the nerve signals kind of slowly are able to start flowing again, and the limb is able to gain back its feeling and its function. So, and in most cases, say where the nerves are not severed, it's just they're damaged. So I think it's the same thing when someone, particularly people who go through stress and trauma at a relatively young age, so their ability to kind of take in and experience pleasure is kind of squeezed and damaged. Just like the nerve pathways, the neural pathways are not working properly. And through this process of just imagining and re-experiencing, you're kind of jump-starting those neural pathways. Again, this is an analogy, but it may even be true in some level in the neural networks. But it works well as an analogy. So in most cases, people's ability to feel pleasure it's not that it's severed. The networks are there. They've just been bruised. They've just been shoved down, whatever, squeezed, whatever analogy works for you. So you're kind of priming them and jump starting them with this re-experience, recreation, and like I say, even an imagining in the moment of how it will feel when you re-experience it in the future. So just to close off, this isn't about measuring oneself. This isn't about saying, oh, I got this much better, or oh, I can experience, things this much more. It's everybody is unique. I will say that I found that exercise to be useful and meaningful, and that I did feel that it opened up my pathways to feel things that would ordinarily be abstracted somewhat in my mind or conceptualized in my mind. So no measuring. I think that just the exercise of allowing yourself to feel it later on, I think, is something that's wonderful for people who have a hard time being fully in something in the moment. And if you're able to bring that into the moment and kind of imagine how that feels in the moment, great, that's wonderful as well. But no measuring. My hope is that you'll take this experience and this idea and try it on. And like I say, according to the research done on depression, it was good just for overall mood at all times. But I'm specifically speaking about it and recommending it as a quick hack for anhedonia. So listen, sending love out and best wishes and blessings, and hoping that you have tons of things to think about and feel gratitude for and appreciation, and to bless for those who are deistically, okay. Somebody out there knows the difference. I'll go look it up later. For those who are deistically minded, to bless. And I hope you have tons of those kinds of things in your life. And I hope that your ability to take in and savor and experience grows ever larger and more vibrant and more delicious and more wonderful and more heartfelt with time. Okay, see you next time. Bye.